Okay. Welcome everybody to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting on Tuesday, May 13th. Our first order of business is approval of the meeting minutes. Did we have they're in the hard copy.
There's a digital copy.
Oh, there was?
Yeah, it's just.
Oh, it's just here. Okay.
There's a physical copy, sorry.
Oh, there is.
Somebody else needs it.
Standing back.
Yeah, I forgot that out there. Down here, it's right. So.
It doesn't look completely online, so it's a copy. We're looking at the meeting minutes. I mean, we're just looking at.
Does anybody have any comments on the minutes? We do have the hard copy here.
I think Brian did a very nice job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Great. Second.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved as written. And then what do we? Oh, I guess he could do the minutes from Zoom.
Yeah, I
or
was
something
telling
like that,
that maybe
maybe.
motion.
Should be easy enough. Okay.
Who seconded, just a.
Oh,
just
Carol.
for clarity.
All right. We don't have any public hearings today. And other than people being here for our demolition applications, does anybody have just visitor comments that are not relevant to those things? Okay. All right. And then we are going to move on to our demolition applications. Our first one is 116 Summit Place.
That's correct. That's just like a appropriate thing. Okay, so for 116 Summit Place, general gist is that it used to exist and they would like to remove it to build a new house for their growing family. I can type it in here so you can get a look at it. Or we'll say that Google's image for it is from like 2000 and something. Yeah, 2007. Yeah, so it's been a while. So yeah, they would like to remove it. They rented it out for a number of years and now the family's growing, so they want to demolish it and move it into that area.
I have a question, if I may. It says the existing structure is not suitable for our growing family's needs. I wonder if there was any investigation done into an addition and renovation on the property, and what criteria was used to just dismiss it and say it?
Yeah, so I mean, I do see that Mr. Clapper is on, so he can answer those questions. I will say in terms of what research, I'll go over research I have, and then he did some research on it, and so we're going to talk, and then we can let Mr. Clapper talk. I think though, if I were to answer your question, I think that I think the size and placement of it, but I'm not entirely sure. But they'll answer that question. In terms of architectural research, I wasn't able to find too much. I mean, it has a colonial look. It's got the barn gable, the roof style. But aside of that, it's kind of, I wasn't able to find too much in terms of it. And structurally, it's good. I mean, it's lasted for the rentals that they've been putting in there up until I think last year. So did you have anything?
Yeah, I didn't find anything historically significant about it. I did find the building permit. It was actually built in 1931. The permit issued in August and to be finished by November of 1931. It was originally a stucco house, 1.5 story. It was built by a Charles Kramer, who his family, he lived with his 2 sisters and brother at 361 Hillside, which is just around the corner. And he was a real estate developer, and they owned several properties in Hillside Place, including Lot 9, which he and his brother had purchased around 1917. Which the only interesting thing I found about it was that this is the second house on that lot. There was a house built sometime in the 1890s. And it was owned by, at one point owned by Alexander Russell, who was a prominent Webster Grove citizen, Russell subdivision back here in Russell Avenue, between Maple and Elm. But it seemed to be abandoned for a number of years. He died around 1907. The house doesn't appear on the 1910 census. And
Yes.
oh, here. And I also found a notice in the paper that I guess his sister or some family member, it was in court for a while after he died, and the property was donated to the orphan asylum, which is now KBC, and they had the property for a while. At some point, I guess the house was torn down, but I couldn't, because when this Kramer and his brother bought it in 1917, the lot in the tax record showed the lot was empty. An undeveloped lot. So, and I made a note in my thing that if the family is interested in learning more about kind of the history of the lot, that I could look into that for them. It seems like it might be kind of interesting. The Hillside subdivision, Hillside Place, was formed around in the early 1890s, and I found a notice in the county newspaper from 1892 that a 2-story, 7-room house on the corner of Summit and Hillside was purchased. So I'm figuring that's probably around when that house has been built. Wow. But other than that, he sold this, Charles Kramer died soon after. He was in his late 60s when the house was built. And a family did own it for a short time, but basically from the 1940s on, so I was pretty much a rental property. Yeah.
All right, so Mr. Clapper, Mr. Clapper, you can speak. You can unmute yourself now and answer any questions.
Okay, yes, I think, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you all for your time. I'll lower my hand now. But yeah, like Joel mentioned, we live very close to this home now. And we originally purchased it to move into, and we investigated the option of doing an addition. We actually did an addition on our current home, which we love. But in the process of doing the addition on our current home, we started to run into the cost benefit curves when it came to like the foundation limitations. Mainly the foundation on the current house is maybe 5 feet to the joist. So it's quite low, couldn't be finished. So our, in terms of finishable lower level and, old waterproofing systems, the basement gets quite wet. So we talked to a few builders about doing another addition on this house, but based on the experience from our current house and the limitations with our current addition, and talking to several well-known home builders around the St. Louis region, we started realizing that it was going to be a nominal cost just to increase to a total home or a full new house. And we're a young family. I have 2 young kids. We're very involved in the community. We love the history of Webster Groves, and we love the history of our current house, and we'd love to hear more about the lot. One thing that I think might be confusing is the current lot the house sits on was originally 2 lots. And when different builders investigated building a home there they actually did find old home foundations in the yard. So my guess is the house that was missing from the tax records there in that early 1900s period was the original home that was torn down and replaced with the home that was in 1931, which is what currently stands, because it was originally 2 homes that stood on the piece of property. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add other than we're looking forward to, basically kind of resetting the clock and allowing a new generation of Webster Groves families to live in a home. We want to live in this house for a really long time, but obviously homes will outlive us, especially well-built homes. And, when we're done with this next house, allowing the next generation of Webster Groves families to have the opportunity to live in a house that maybe meets the more modern requirements. My wife works from home, and some of those requirements that are placed on modern families a little bit better. But no, I'm open to any questions or concerns. We really feel like this is going to be our forever home and our forever location.
So did you work with an architect at all to determine, lay out what your family's needs were and what kind of addition and renovation might be done to this property? Because it does have some really nice character to it, both inside and out. And after 30 years as an architect working on exclusively renovation and addition work, it seems to me that there's a lot of potential to keep that existing character, both for your family and for the streetscape and the neighbors, and still meet modern requirements, because it's done all the time. We see it around here. We're, members of this board are also on the ARB, so we see a lot of the projects coming through Webster. So did you meet with an architect, or did you strictly talk to new home builders?
We did meet with an architect. And I think the other thing that maybe doesn't come through in the street view pictures of the property is it's already been significantly added onto as it stands. And the current there was a 2-story addition, which kind of limited our options. The other thing is the way that it's sited. It's on about a 0.4 of an acre lot right now, but it's very close to its nearest neighbor on the summit side. So, and for the natural flow of the home, it would make sense to push out, like make the home deeper. And that was actually the way that the property line is, that would not be tenable given Webster's setbacks. And so then you're talking about making the home wider, but that doesn't flow and doesn't make sense with the current master's layout. And the staircase itself, I mean, the kind of the structure of the home is quite low. I'm not very tall. I'm only 5'11", but it's very, very uncomfortable to walk up the stairs right now, and because of the height of the staircase. And so as we investigated that more with people, it really did start being where, when you're talking about changing some of that level of structural detail on the inside and complying with Webster's setback limits, the way that the house is currently sited, it was going to be not cost effective to make those changes.
So I have a question for you, which is just a question. So you don't like this house, but it seems to be a perfectly fine house for someone who is okay with a smaller home. So why not just buy a different one? You don't live in this house now.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
there's other houses for sale that, you could, instead of tearing down one, we're limited. Webster is trying to have a diversity of home sizes, but the more of these homes that are torn down, the less diverse the houses become, and the less character Webster has, actually. So the more new homes we get, the less character we have. It's just the way it is, because 100-year-old homes are, it's death by 1,000 cuts. So it's just something it's just a question. You can answer it however you like. That's just,
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I live in a century home now. And I understand, the diversity of housing stock. Some of it is, honestly, this is on a dead end road, right? So some of it is it's difficult to find a house that is in the location that you want, right? And when you start sitting around like we have for the last, I mean, we started looking at homes in 2019 or 2020, so we're now 5 or 6 years into this, and you start looking and looking, eventually you start realizing it may make sense just to build what you want or what fits the needs of the unique needs of your family. The like diversity of housing thing, I absolutely get. We're not planning on building a monstrous home there or anything like that. We just want to build a house that, I mean, I've never lived in a house that had where the master had its own bathroom. And, that starts to be where when you start adding up some of those things, it can be difficult to find in older homes. And so I think it makes sense we found a location that we liked, and we did the investigation we've owned this house now for 4 years, and we did lots of investigation with lots of different professionals and are trusting, kind of the opinion of professionals moving forward, in what makes sense for this lot at this time. And I say that as, like I said, as someone who lives in a century house. Now, to talk about the, diversity of housing stock, or, changing the character. I mean, there's a lot of new builds already on this street, I should say, both on Hillside and on Summit. And I'm not saying that we should add one more to the, to the roster, but we're not going to stick out in the neighborhood. And we've done this with a lot of care, if that makes sense.
Well, it does sound like you have carefully researched, which I do appreciate. Just something to consider if you go forward with a new home on this lot is to incorporate design elements that respect the existing older homes, and express that kind of language. As I think as we all drive around Webster, we see that there's a particular style of home that's fashionable now that we see everywhere, same color scheme, same roof forms. So I would encourage you to use the vernacular of the older homes in your area, some of those elements for good neighborhood fit.
Yeah, that also speaks better to Webster Groves in general, because as you said, homes are going to be here long after we are, but a lot of the ones that look trendy for a while end up looking odd. And those are the ones that go. So, keep that in mind. This is a place where we don't really want to build homes that are for 20 years. We want to build homes that are for 200 years. So make it more that is making it kind of traditional, but that's where we live. So
yeah, this may not be the appropriate forum for this, but we are planning on, we've kind of done some nods in our new home design to the history of St. Louis as a region and to Webster Groves in particular. And we're being very careful to choose materials that are going to last a long time and color schemes that are outside of the current, I would say, bland or chessboard color schemes that you see right now. We've selected a kind of an earth tone green siding color that and we're going with siding that can be painted. We're not going with vinyl siding, so we can, it's a permanent product. And we're doing brick skirting around the foundation, so it's not as a nod to the St. Louis region. So we intend to live in St. Louis or in Webster Groves for as long as we can, and we want to make all of those nods and do the things so it fits in, while also allowing future generations to have a home that is more capable for current needs.
thank you. Thank you very much for adding that in. That is nice to know.
It is, and yes, thank you for being so thoughtful about this, and also thank you for talking through this with us. It's very much appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you all for your time. I respect the opinions of everyone on this board, and we certainly are trying to. Webster Groves is our home, so we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, not only for our family but for the community as a whole. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody else have any comments on this one? Anything you'd like to say, add? Okay, all right, then, I will ask for a motion for 116 Summit Avenue.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm
You-
sorry.
You could say, if you want to follow officer.
No,
you
that's
get the
fine.
second.
Go ahead.
It's just, Joel's recommendation says further review. And it's what Mr. Eagles provided sufficient further review.
I feel comfortable with it.
Okay.
If that's what you want to do, yeah, because that's what the recommendation is, yeah,
That's
so
fine.
that's where we would be.
Yeah, I just want to be clear.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you made the motion, Helen?
Or do you want to make?
I'll make the second.
Okay, so do we, wait, let's start again. All right, let's have a motion for 116 Summit Avenue.
I'll make a motion to approve the demolition request for 116 Summit Avenue.
Just to be really clear, I apologize for jutting in, but Samantha, it's 116 Summit Place. So over more
thank
towards the
you.
Deer Creek side, we do have 116 Summit, or there's no 116 Summit Avenue, but there is a Summit Avenue over towards Deer Creek.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, I'm trying to catch it as many places because she.
I noticed too, because I live.
So I would hate if
Summit's
we
one of my
left
cross
this,
streets.
I would hate if we left this
Straight
and
out of-
we had a different thing than, it is 116 Summit Place.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
All right.
Make another run at it. I'll make a motion to approve the demolition request for 116 Summit Place.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, your permit has been approved. Or whatever request, application, whatever it's called, has been approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. all. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, the next one is 1433 Wexford Avenue.
Right. So for this, my memo is rather short. They are demolishing it. Yeah, they're demolishing it because it is already been smashed by a tree.
Yeah.
So I didn't do too much in terms of the write-up for historic relevance because it's not super savable, but they are planning, they pulled out of the wreckage, they pulled the plans from the original building and they are going to rebuild exactly the same as it was. Fun little anecdote, the guy was sitting watching TV when the tree came, his TV cut out and he got up to mess with the TV and a tree smashed in and like if he had been a second slower, he would not be able to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's like I forget, he's like older. Exactly, yeah. With the TV, like, pushing me on, but yeah.
Wow, what? So everybody would, nobody would.
Yeah, I guess
To the house.
Yeah, just the house. The neighbors saw it and came running over and such, so. I think they had.
Yeah, he had gotten up, his cable went out. He had gotten up and just went into the kitchen, 97.
He's
Yeah,
97.
yeah, that's why I was trying to be polite about it.
He is so adamant about us putting this house back the way it was. It was wonderful. And,
Okay.
but he had, if his TV, thank God, if his TV was still working and the cable didn't go up, he wouldn't be with us anymore. If the tree came, right, he wasn't on the recliner.
Oh, my goodness.
He was in the kitchen, he was trapped in the kitchen, he wasn't hurt, but they had to cut the tree out and cut in the house to get him out.
Wow.
Insurance company has condemned it. I mean, we're just gonna take it down to the foundation, put it right back the way it's supposed to be.
So I have a stupid question. So if something like that happens, like the insurance company covers it, right? Or does the homeowner have to cover all those things? Okay.
And then, yeah, they pay the deductible one.
Yeah.
Most people have code upgrades now, so, it all had to be in today's code. But
Gotcha.
they'll close them also as long as you have that upgrade on insurance.
It's a cool mid-century modern design too.
Yeah, it's a 3
It's
sections.
kind of a neat design, so
Yeah.
it's.
Garage is that they same roof one.
I could see where you might like that house, you know,
Yeah.
especially, how long did he live there?
He built it 1960.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he built it.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh, so he, okay, well,
So that's
He
why
really
he
likes
has
it
plans, yeah.
yeah,
Doesn't want to change anything. Oh, those, right
Wow.
back, say the way it was supposed to be.
Just gonna wear
He's
it
probably,
again.
he's probably that same green, he's probably.
so.
I don't know
how
about
much tree that?
Yeah, it's actually the tree in the back here.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can. Oh, all right, let me go back to this. All right, let's try that again. Let's see. So it was this tree right here came down and just like smashed across this.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or anything about this? There were really. Okay, I don't know, there's not really much to say, so, do we have a motion for this, for 1433 Wexford Avenue?
I'm
I
sorry.
move for the-
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
did you wanna say?
No, I didn't look
8%,
into
right?
this one at all.
Okay.
I'd like to make a
I
motion.
didn't have time.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? All right. The demolition application for 1430 Wexford is approved. Our next one then. Eight oh four East Pacific. This one is. Did you find anything to this?
Well, what I found is actually, I didn't find anything historically significant per se. I did find, the building permit was built in 1924. And the guy who built it looked like he lived in it for a while. What's interesting on the permit is that it's 804 East Pacific, but then they changed it to Glen Road. And I've noticed this before along there where they changed it to Glen Road, but at some point the city changed it back to East Pacific. And I don't know what happened. Yeah. So there's actually, a note on here where they scratch out East Pacific and wrote in Glen Road. And I find that all the time on houses along that stretch of Pacific. But what I did find is that I don't know if county is changing the street numbers.
The county is in the process of changing
Okay.
their numbers.
Yeah, because when I called up on the county information, it's listed as 802 East Pacific.
Yeah.
And the next door, where they're building the new house, which looks like it's the same builder, because they have the same address. At least, that's 804, or will be 804.
Yeah, so I talked to the builder about this the other day. So the same contractor that is working on this home also is working on this home.
Right.
And apparently the way it's set up now is that this home is, so it's 806 here, and then the home here, which is this one, that's the new build, is 806A, and then this one's 804. But then when they start building this home, they went to the county and said, hey, we want to renumber it to 802, 804, 806. So instead of having an 806A. And so I guess they're like midway through that process. And the county moves at different speeds than.
Well, I mean, when I printed out the real estate information yesterday, it's changed.
All right.
Yeah, and so, and
Good on
even on
that.
the aerial map, they have them labeled as 802 and 804.
All right.
Or I mean, 80, yeah. 802.
So should we call it that?
Yeah, we can
Should we
call
it 802?
You can call it 802. So that works. I mean, that's the county as of
Just
today, I
in
guess.
case it matters.
Because he asked me as well, because they're applying, they're trying to get their plans together for A or B as well. And then they're like, should we go with 804 and 802? And I told them to stick with 804 until they were done the process instead of changing some documents and site plans having 804 to create some confusion on our end. But we can definitely call it 802 for the vote. So It would not matter
All right,
in terms
sounds
of our
good.
system.
So you know that there's this square here that's on the property line?
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know much about what that weird thing is. It's in jutting into a house and also, but here we'll put an aerial maybe on that and see.
And the aerial on the county,
It's
it's a pure
Maybe
right
it's just-
angle.
I guess it's maybe that their way of trying to say that there's an attached garage.
It's just paving. It's very, I just thought it was interesting.
Well, is that the Google aerial? Yeah, because on the county, this is from
Yeah, they just show the attached
April
garage.
2024, and it's an empty lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no, the other person's garage isn't on this.
Probably just captured digitally without any human intervention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just curious. There was some, I don't know what. Apparently there
It's
used
the
to
one
be a
with the,
tennis
sorry,
court.
it's the one with the pool is the one
Yeah,
that was on there.
so the one with the pool is what we're looking at over here.
Okay.
Nope, sorry. And they are removing this pool, they are, they're
Is
gonna
that
put
an
this
above-
back to, it's
It's an above ground.
it is above ground pool, yeah, so they're taking this all back down to grass and yard, and then building a house here. They're also gonna put it more, obviously because of code, they have to do this, but their plan is to put it more in line with the other properties. So the other property's front is like right here, and so they'll be
Pull it
moving it
back
back a little bit. Obviously, it sounds like somebody's here that can maybe speak on half of it, but in terms of architectural, I mean, obviously I'm not an architect, so I do the best I can. I wasn't able to find too much in terms of history of it. Architecturally speaking, I mean, I guess it's got a small little bungalow, you know, it's got the little roof vent that's kind of stylized there. Got that classic non-shutting shutters.
it was built,
Yeah, that's
it was built in
Those are
1920.
classic. Those are new.
Yeah, I mean, I say classic and it's very popular. I don't understand it, but it is popular.
It's
My
popular.
house also has them. I just feel like I would want shutter.
I
would
like
want
ones
shutters
with the hinges.
that actually shut.
That could actually cover
Yeah,
your windows.
that makes,
or
it just
something.
makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see them where they're not the same size as the window.
Oh, that's really
It
weird.
drives you
Yeah.
nuts.
The big window with the little
Oh,
shutters.
there's one of those on my street.
Little shutter with
Yeah. So, but nevertheless, I wasn't able to find anything historic about it, so. it sounds
Yeah,
like
they
it's
actually
much-
did an addition again in 1928. They built on another room off the back, I think, is what it says.
Yeah.
Gable there. Sort of cute from the front,
Yeah.
cuter than the other ones,
Very bungalow.
like
Very
cuter, you know.
Well, it's
I
probably
think
a
it won't-
closed screen porch.
I was gonna say, at one point, they
Yeah.
clearly enclosed the screen porch, just because they kept the shutters
Yeah,
in there.
it's still kind of cute.
So,
Sounds like it's in pretty distressed condition.
Okay, it's cute, it's not.
Yeah, I wasn't able to find an active occupancy on file for this. Yeah, and so I guess according to the letter that they submitted, there was challenges with the driveway being sloped and with water. Oh, which actually does remind me is that, so this is like, all at the top of this is here is like all the houses that are being demolished because of the flooding.
The other way. Yeah. the
Oh,
other
sorry,
way.
yeah, yeah,
Down there.
yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right. This makes sense. Yeah, so,
Down that way.
yeah. You're kind of rolling off.
Yeah, when you get towards the end, it curves around.
So, which the one is being demolished, I've been told this week, so 8:44, be specific, so. Yeah, so I guess I'm not surprised that they have water issues. I mean, they are at the top of the hill, but.
Poor little house. Okay. I assume, yeah.
So,
And is,
I guess quickly,
if you'd like,
I actually went through the house when we came to look at structurally, and I went through it with the daughter of, the owner. and she's in her mid-30s, I'd say. She went through and was like, yeah, it's time. The floors are sloped and not intentionally to a corner and the rockland. It's a 1-bedroom, foundation, it's honeycomb. It's not a full basement. I guess the addition that you found is this large crawl space that is just bare earth, and it looked like somebody tried to start excavating back in it. It's kind of a mess. She told me a story about somebody in the family came over and built an addition for a full bathroom. And this bathroom, he insisted that the floor be sloped so that the water drains properly in the tub.
What?
Yeah. So the whole bathroom floor is sloped.
Well, that's unique.
It's in the tub drain. Yeah, that's very unique. So and I don't think that was permitted. It's sitting on posts that are not.
Oh, yeah, I did see
and
that.
actually are sitting on cinder blocks.
That last page.
So
Okay.
The garage is probably the best structure there. But even that, somebody pushed the back wall out with their car, right, obviously. So there's not a whole lot to be saved. We actually went through, usually we try to find one piece of the house that's worth saving, or even maybe reusing a new, or even selling a demolition sale or something like that, but there's not much there. It's kind of hodgepodge inside. The kitchen is done. Really nothing we're saving in the kitchen. So that's kind of the.
Okay, thank you very much. Did the original buyer intend to do what your applicant is doing? Is it tear it down? He said it, because there's a note here that said it was bought after it flooded.
She passed away.
Oh.
I think we have dangerous.
So between the time that he started the new house, in that period of time.
Maybe try it for your house.
It's still.
Try that out. Okay. Anyway. All right, does anybody have any questions for us or anything else? No, okay.
And we have a motion for 802
Yeah.
East Pacific Avenue.
804 to a fourth.
Yeah, we're
It's
changing-
802, 804.
804,
There's an alias, should we call it?
Yeah,
802
802 slash 80, it's being changed.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can do that.
Just, yeah.
It's been changed,
Yeah,
you said on the.
yeah, I just
county
printed it out
record,
yesterday.
says
and
802.
it's
It
changed
was
to
804. Just recently, they
Yeah.
have petitioned the county to change it. to
Okay, I just thought maybe I had it wrong.
Nope, you got it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And yeah, and actually we.
So moved.
Second that.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, the demolition application for 802 slash 804 East Pacific Avenue is approved. And thanks for good. Bravo.
Okay, there was some other things I was fulfilling there that I didn't put on the agenda. I didn't know if we wanted to do an update from the subcommittee meeting. Also, I do want to give you guys an update on the comp plan, and then, yeah, that's all.
Just a brief overview. We met on April 30th. We are looking at a few items. One is items that from a website that Hillary pointed out, planning.org, so we can get an idea of how conservation districts are used other than strictly architectural styles. Like for, these are just examples. Maybe people might want to say, well, we want to do the dark sky initiative on our street. Or we want to have larger green space requirements. And so we're kind of developing an overview definition with examples of different ways that conservation districts can be used. And we're looking at examples from different parts of the country. Our first examples we're looking at are Kansas City, Denver, Jefferson City, and Champaign-Urbana. So they're kind of around in this area. And we're going to reconvene and kind of discuss our next steps. One of the things we're interested in, of course, is getting a draft of the comprehensive plan, because it'll be crucial to look at that plan and discuss how the conservation districts might serve needs that are pointed out in the plan. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of a general overview. If, Lori, do you have anything to add?
No, just that planning.org is APA, American Planning Associations. And I just searched for conservation districts and it came up with a lot, 1,700.
Yeah.
Which is, most of them are not going to be about what we're looking for, but I agreed that I would read through the top ones and see if any of them actually are conservation districts.
And there are some that it was very interesting to look at the one particular one in Denver. It was mid-century modern houses, and the people in the area decided they wanted to limit that new construction to 1 story or 1.5 stories. And they did have a consensus of homeowners. It did go through. It became part of the zoning code as a conservation district. And since it went through, they have had none of what they refer to as scrape-off demolitions, where people just come in and demolish a whole house and then build something that's out of scale. So it was interesting. That wasn't their intent, because they were willing to allow new construction, but because people seeking to, do developments didn't want it to go up. And so it ended up having the side effect of conserving existing housing stock. And they made some additional modifications. I just found this interesting that they modified the rear yard setback to make it actually smaller, to encourage additions to go back instead of out, to preserve the existing streetscape. So it's been, for me, it's been very interesting to learn some of these strategies that are really very thoughtful. So we're going to reconvene. Our next meeting is on the 27th of this month, and kind of look where we are, and hopefully we'll be able to have a copy of the comprehensive plan draft. That would be really helpful.
Yes, sorry, I got it. We have set the meeting space. Sorry, I'm just bringing this up because you said it was popping in my head. The meeting space for the Osage room, which is downstairs right there. But I guess finance is moving a person out of their office and they don't have a temporary office for them. So they're going to use that space.
So we're moving again.
So we're going to have to move your space again. I'm going to check to see if the Osage room, which is, it is downstairs and then through the doors and then all the way to the back wall where the police department, like on the police department. That's gonna be the space. I don't know, we're running out of space, or the council chambers, so I'm gonna see if either of those are.
Breadcrumbs to get.
Yeah, right.
I think
Or you guys will just be like.
I think that might be a council meeting night, is it?
Council
Oh,
meeting
it's on
nights
Tuesday.
are Tuesdays,
Yeah.
first and third.
Yeah,
So
it seems to me
Tuesday.
when I looked at the calendar, it seemed like there might be something else going on that night. I'll
That's a
have
good
to
question.
verify that to see.
Yeah, sorry, I'll pull up my calendar, let's see. We said the 27th,
Yeah, that's a
that is
Tuesday. Is that
that is not the first or the second.
Second, so,
That's
okay,
that's the
okay.
fourth. So-
okay? So we
So
should be,
potentially,
Yeah.
Which is some chambers.
We just don't want to be in the jail, you know.
Yeah, it's a nice room. It's nice. They do all their media releases and stuff for the police department over there, but
Just, if you
yeah,
can.
it just has a police vibe to it.
Style over there.
That sounds scary.
I'm gonna leave, but I have not forgotten about the plaque, so when we have our next meeting, I have
Oh,
some
yeah.
information about that.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so
So just
that
when
aside.
you find a space, let us
Exactly, I
know.
will let you know. The other thing in terms of the comp plan, so right now where it's at is they have scheduled for their draft to be officially released to the public on June 5th when they present to city council. They're gonna do a presentation to city council. We had them, the kind of what they want to do is get some feedback from the plan commission, and they're working on, so the last plan commission meeting, this is all we did was just kind of talk to them a little bit through it. And then I say I did really too much talking. I just sat there and worked the computer. But they worked through, it was kind of like a dialogue of a meeting. And then we're hoping to get their feedback in time for the June 5th presentation, is my understanding. And so then after that, then I think once it's made public to city council, then it's public to everyone. But that's kind of what it's at. I did express, or whatever reminds me of, so. I did express that the Historic Preservation Commission would like to see the draft as well. So.
It's good, it's good to know we kind of have a target date of when we might be able to expect something to work with.
Yeah.
Joel, I mean, isn't it officially out? Couldn't we share it? I mean, because I was on, I'm an ambassador. So
Yeah,
I have like right here in front of me the plan, but I don't know if doesn't that mean it's out to the public? I would.
I mean, it very well could. I mean, Plan Commission saw it. It's a public meeting. I'm just doing as I'm told to.
Okay.
So,
That's true.
what I could say is you can definitely send an email and then I can forward that to Elliot, my director, and then. go from there.
And if we could get it sooner, I think that would be helpful to make our next meeting more productive.
I mean, I would think that the lawyer would say that I'm a citizen. I have a copy of the plan. It's out there.
Yeah, and
I
I'm not
can
trying to fight you
prepare.
on it.
Did they tell you not to?
No.
Yeah.
So that if they didn't tell you not to share it, then I don't know.
I'll forward. I don't have a group, but I'll forward it to everybody's email.
All right.
Do you have it?
Because other people might not even think about it and say, and talk to their neighbors and right, and we just might do that, not even think about it.
In my
So,
humble
where are your
opinion, it's a very
neighbors?
well done plan. I really like it. It's a good plan. A little out of the box thinking, some stuff that terrifies me on some of those maps, but you have to check with your city, the city. They have a couple of, what do they call them, like project sites, some idea sites.
Yeah, they have two.
And there's
two,
one that completely takes that red LaRose, whatever, that car deal, auto body repair that's on
Red
floor,
Lamore.
Red Lamore. Yeah, it's like, I wouldn't put that on a map and show it without talking to him, because they're talking about taking his business. And there was another one like that too, where they, over at close to where I live at Marshall on Summit, some things that's just like, you're putting blocks of new uses on top of existing businesses without maybe not talking to them, and that gets a little
Yeah.
nervy, but yeah, I'm just saying, my opinion.
Hey,
As
you
well,
feel free to give your
there's-
feedback.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they
You were an
are.
ambassador, so you should give them that feedback.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and I have
Yeah.
before,
Okay.
you're right.
I'm glad to
It's
hear that
called
because
Yeah.
there have been, I've lived in Webster for 27 years and there have been some extreme faux pas with people finding out that their house was planning to be purchased and removed by reading it in the paper.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, and it's, and,
Mm.
you know, when the
Like what's the price?
redevelopment plan, when they were looking at that Douglas Hill development, people in the church were not informed in a timely manner, which was, distressing to everyone. So I think that it's really critical that, people not find out in the newspaper that, especially like businesses like Lamore's who've been there for years and, not find out by reading
I
it
don't know if they're-
someplace.
But, it's that, because I've been involved with one lawsuit. Putting something on a map is considered by the courts to be a taking,
Is to be what?
to be a taking.
So it's like saying.
What is the constitutional amendment? You can't take property for private use without due process, basically. In my case, I was working in the area around, Crewcorps Park in Maryland Heights, and at someone else's, I put a water retention area on a piece of property that I was told to, same as you, told to do it. Well, the property owner saw that and sued the city because he wasn't planning to do that. The courts considered, the city settled, but they sued it was taking his property without due process or whatever the terms are. So and not only that, just like I said, PR, I would hate to find out that we found out that they were gonna tear down the other side of our street. Because to make more parking for the Big Bend side where Rogers is and and the Cyrano's, they're gonna take all the houses there and put a parking lot there. Right across from our house. And Mayor Wells said, we do very nice parking lots. Wow, sure you do, but I don't want them right across from my house.
Like Fair Oaks.
That's where I live, yeah, that's my street.
Yeah, so that's, thank you for giving that feedback. I hope that it will fall on ears that are sensitive.
And I've said it before, but the draft that's in here shows them those lots.
And maybe they have spoken to them too. There could be that as well.
Yeah,
Hopefully-
this is
hopefully
just an
that's-
idea, we're gonna work with you in
Yeah.
more detail, maybe that's the kind of stuff.
Can we
I
put
think that is the vibe that they have with the area, with those two sites that they're proposing, but. I
Cause
mean-
Red Lamar has kind of like, even when we were looking at the Douglas Hill thing, he had a price. He wasn't like opposed.
Oh,
Yeah, I
It's like-
said he was gonna be.
Retiring,
winding down,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
But
price is right. Right.
Mm-hmm,
So, well, that's good to know. That it was probably,
yeah.
they did know.
He was probably one of the few people that were disappointed that was.
So, I mean, I would recommend sending any thoughts, concerns you have to Elliot, the director of planning and development, or you can send it to me. and I'll
Especially
forward it to
before
him.
they finalize.
Can't go right to the consultant since I was an ambassador.
Oh, you might be able to. I have no clue. Yeah, by all means, I'm just telling my route.
Well, I know I'm not an employee, but I am a volunteer and on a commission as a commissioner, and I don't wanna disrespect anybody's boundaries.
Okay, well, so that's the comp plan. The other thing I wanted to, I just remembered is that I did bring up about the historic preservation and the historic society liaison position as well.
Oh, but they didn't do.
No, I've not heard
That's
anything. I think right now it's kind of working its way through the system. But what you could recommend is always you have the ability to reach out on your own to Elliot, my director.
what I don't understand, and perhaps Karen, you might be able to give some insight into this. It was not very long ago that Mayor Arnold was saying, we have this position, it's a liaison position between the Historic Society and the Historic Preservation Commission. She was looking for somebody to fill it, and what the discussion went on for a couple or 3 months. And at that time, there was nobody who was willing to do that.
Mhm.
But now Sue Indelicato has stepped forward saying that she would like to fill that position. So I don't understand why we can't just go to Mayor Arnold and say, hey, Mayor Arnold, we know we were looking for someone to do this and now we have somebody. So it just seems to me like it doesn't need to be that complicated.
It's been a couple
Okay,
months.
so
Yeah,
what's
but-
so-
that I don't, what's that?
It's been a couple of months since that was brought up.
Yes, right. And so, Joe,
I think part of
Only
it
do
is
so
just that,
much.
yeah, I think part of it is just that, Elliot's new, I'm new, the deputy city manager is no longer with the city. So I think there's just some transition of like, okay, we're making sure we're doing it.
Right,
But
because I haven't even met Elliot yet.
Yeah.
Because I saw him for the first time in the meeting because I was out of the country for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
so,
so
so I can
I
follow.
was gonna say,
so-
it might be easier or what?
Yeah, I mean, once again, like Hillary was saying, I don't wanna, violate anybody's boundaries, but with y'all having so much to do, I mean, you obviously have a big workload. If it would be easier for you, for, me or some other member of the commission to just email Mayor Arnold and copy everybody that we, like Joel and Elliot and Karen, and say, hey, we have somebody, keep everybody in the loop, and maybe we can just get this done without having a lot of people feeling like they need to work on something.
Okay, well, I don't have a problem with that, but what I'll do is I'm gonna make sure I have it captured right here correctly, because when I give my update in the meeting Tuesday for HPA, I can mention it then too. So this is for a liaison between the HPA,
The HPC
the HPC and
and
the
the Historical Society.
Historical Society.
Yeah, and that's my recollection of that conversation, Angela. You were there.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, that's what it is.
And
And
what
it's a
was her
position
name?
that was always there.
And
Hillary.
Sue and Delicata.
Now,
Hillary's now volunteer.
No volunteer, I'm not
Commissioner.
And she's interested in filling that role.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
she'll do it.
yes, and
Do it well.
yes, she's a really good communicator. She's a trained writer, and I think she's a great
And
candidate.
did she, because the name sounds real familiar, did she?
She's
Usually here.
Why do I know that name?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
it's just going on a trip.
Okay.
So she's not here right now, but she's doing an article for us in the newsletter up
Okay.
there. She's always, so, yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll make sure I mention that and.
And so, yeah, if you want to mention that in the update, do you want to contact me or one of us?
Oh, yeah, I don't have a problem with you going ahead
Okay.
and you can communicate that
Okay.
too, and I'll just reinforce it when
Okay.
when I, in the meeting.
That's-
That you should, because you're gonna send it to Laura?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and okay with what we're proposing. I mean, Joel, you think that's?
Yeah, I mean, so I brought it up and then his response is that he wanted to make sure that he looked into it, understand it fully, and then brought it up to Dr. Peoples before going straight to it.
Okay, so we'll just suggest it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with anybody suggesting.
Yeah, especially since they were actively looking for someone.
Mhm.
That, just say, hey, we have a candidate who's interested in doing this. Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, because it seems like something that would be approved by the council.
Right.
I see.
I
Would assume, since they asked for, that's where it came from originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
it was my understanding that it was a position that was appointed by the mayor or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like
How long
original.
ago?
This was, when I first started, that was,
Yeah, so
A couple of-
I think a
couple of
long
years
time
ago.
ago, they had that. The mayor
Okay.
decided we'd have this position and then I think it was to make it easier, was the idea here, and it's become very complicated. is what's happened.
It shouldn't be.
When it was supposed to just be like, sure, you can do it, go ahead. It
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to be,
some
it's not a,
political.
it's a volunteer position. So
Yeah.
Sue volunteers at the Hawken House anyway, which is where the historical.
Exactly.
That's why
She
she's.
probably goes
She's
to
a member
the
of-
board meetings for the Conservation Society already.
She does, that's
That's
the
the
beauty of
idea.
it, because she's a commission member and she's a member there who's active and she's willing to step up and be the liaison.
So she's already a member of HPC and the
Yeah.
Historical Society as
And for a
well.
long time.
So she probably already attends their board meetings.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So,
Yeah.
does she?
Like, here, when she's on a trip.
Board meetings. How dare she go to Sicily, but HPC meeting.
Anybody
can come to the board. I know.
So just, I think like 2 meetings ago, it was brought up that she wanted to do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Did wanna, bring up too, so we're in the middle of budget season. And so, for this committee, the request for the budget was $1,820. When we look at the sheet, when you gave your presentation, I know when we talked you broke it down and it came to 1,200. Do you know what the request was? So there's like a $620 difference where you were aware that it was showing a difference of the 1,200 and the 18. Okay, and so that's fine. So
We don't know why though.
I was gonna say, if you want, so I can argue for you, but I needed to know just kind of, do we know?
So it was the previous amount.
Yeah.
She sent a template, I think, around, or Dr. Rivers sent it to us. I know that it said, there was amount that was left over from previous.
We didn't know either.
Because we requested 12. We
Right,
didn't request, yeah, so it looked like it was that 600 and some was for the
Right.
previous.
okay, so it looks like
year or
that
years.
the 1820 is an error. It was basically 1,200.
Yeah, I think they just said like, okay, you're requesting this amount, you got this amount already in the pot. 18 is what you're gonna get potentially.
Right.
But we don't really spend much money, so we didn't.
I don't know,
even have-
we had 1,200 though, that is how much
We had
we do.
spent it in before, really.
For 1,200 altogether.
Exactly,
To buy
We were
to make sure we
running high.
had everything we needed for any sort
for the
of,
plaques,
Plaques
and
and
the tree
whatnot.
naming
and
stuff.
all that, whatever,
Okay,
which should be fine for this year.
okay, I just wanted to make sure which one. you were-
$1,200.
No, that's fine, because it actually said, okay, but then on the one thing, it showed 1,800, and so they did a budget amendment to eliminate the additional 620. Why do they need the, I'm like, I don't know, let me ask. Exactly, so I just wanted to ask the question and see if.
Yeah, I
I
kind of,
fought for it if you wanted. I knew that we had talked for I just wanted to make sure, okay, we're good. Okay.
it was also 620 on 620. Okay.
Yeah, I did
$20.
for whatever.
Yeah. So, no, yeah, that's
You
just.
might be able to get the 20.
Somebody even asked about that 25.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to clarify that.
No problem at all. Yes.
Great,
All right.
that's all I got.
Did
All
you
right.
have something about the digital heritage project?
Oh, yeah, so it was able to, we can, I don't know if I can do it from this computer because my password's automatically saved in my laptop. But I can do a bulk download from the website. So what we need to do, and we can do it right now, is we need to find where on the website is the items that you want me to bulk download.
Okay, well, that's the thing. It's going to take a little bit of doing to identify those.
Okay,
Because right now, the information that the research that we do about historic designations is recorded in the agenda of the public hearings for that designation.
okay,
So we're gonna
so,
have to go through and say, okay, this designation for property ABC, well, we can see from the tree over at the library that was designated in 2000. I'm just making up numbers. And then we have to go through the agendas for the year 2000, find out what month it was, and then look up the public hearing information.
okay,
So,
and we want to,
and before we went down that path, because it is a bit labor intensive, we wanted to just know if this was feasible and if we would be allowed to do it. So, because it is going to be, I think, a bit of work to identify exactly where those are.
so we're looking for a list of the addresses that have been historic designation.
We
or-
have that and we have the dents.
We
Yeah.
have the
okay.
list, but in order to identify the research that was done,
Okay, so we need to,
that's when we have to go look for the packet that went out for the public hearing for that designation, because that's where all of the
Historical.
historical
Yeah,
information.
basically a
The doc-
PDF
yeah,
that's there that
yeah.
has all that stuff.
So, but we're gonna have to locate those in the archives, because there is that section of the website that says if it's pre-2016, it's in these archives.
yeah,
So we're gonna have to go through and figure, yes. So
Okay.
it is a bit of work. But we wanted to make sure that we were gonna be allowed to do it before, we sit there and, put it all together. Cause it just makes sense to me that we've done all of this work. We should have a list on the city's website that says, these are our historic properties, and then it can be a link to the digital heritage site that says, and here's where you can find all the documentation. By just clicking on the address instead of having to know where to look for it in old meeting minutes and agendas, because nobody's gonna know that except people like us who have to do that kind of thing.
So in particular, when someone purchases one of these properties and say the architect needs to know the information, or they want to come to us, or not necessarily us, but the ARB or whatever.
They can just have it.
In a way, so say they don't know very much information, they have no idea where to find this. They don't know if this information even exists. So it's, which isn't normal, I have to
Yes,
say. That is
it
not
is not
typical. Most communities, you'd be able to find it fairly easily. So we should have it a little bit different. We do need to have something so that if you purchase the property, you can find information on your own property, like.
Yeah.
So.
So is the ask here to have like a link provided on the website that gives us a list of all the homes that have been given the historical designation, so that someone can go in and put in their address to see if it's on that list, or somebody can go in and just pull up that list and see what homes have historical designations.
And then clicking on that address would take you actually to another website that has all this information that we're going to give them, that they will take for you and organize, they organize it. This is what they do.
That's the one that is the Missouri Digital Heritage. It's by the Secretary of State of the state of Missouri. And John has done the research about how to create these collections. So the city doesn't actually have to host that on their website. All they need to do is have a list of the properties and have a link that will take us to the My Digital Heritage, the Missouri website, and there it is. And we will have taken, our project is to take the information we have and upload it onto this site. So all of the documentation, all of the photographs, all of the deeds, whatever we have will be viewable. It just makes sense. And anybody researching Webster Groves could go on there and find this. So, because right now, people they purchase properties and they don't even know that they're locally designated landmarks. And if somebody like maybe the Bethany Church, if they wanted to go for a National Register nomination, the research that this commission has already done is a huge leg up and will save them a lot of time and energy, and they can look at that information we've already done and know whether or not their property is a potential candidate for the National Register. So makes all kinds of sense to just have this information where people can actually find it and use it.
Okay, so what I'm just trying to do for my own edification and for me communicating it is our ask, because mainly we're trying to determine, first of all, if this is work for city staff. So, because if it is, that has to be budgeted and they identified who's going to do it. So we're saying what we want to do is to create, first of all, I guess, a link on our website, which would list all properties with historical designations. And then we were going to link those to this so that they would go ahead and, so that people could go in there and they would then they could look up the address and then they could be linked to this site.
Right.
But more than anything, we want to connect that information, put it together, have a link on our city website so that people can go and find it.
And that from what I'm understanding, that would be the only thing that would involve city staff. I think that fishing out where this information is, we can
Yeah,
do
we-
that.
we could-
And I mean, we can,
Yeah.
we can maybe divvy it up between members to say, okay, you look for this one, you look for this one, you look for this one, or something like that. I
So
don't,
basically, we're doing them to, so a link on the website for, historical properties. And we're gonna link those to the state.
Yeah, Joel, go to our website, go to wgpl.org. I'll show you what one looks like.
He's already done this. John has already done this. before.
Yeah.
So,
So what was the
Dot
next?
.org.
Okay.
Dot .org, yeah. And then go to reference, local history. And then scroll down, click on Kate Moody collection.
So a lot of that's already.
So then scroll down and then just click, that just has this is what the collection is, and then scroll down. Browse. So the link will take them to, so what you would have is basically 50 plus pages. Each one will have, so click on this one, for example. So when you click on the link, the PDF for that documentation for that address would come up. And when you click on the little arrows up at the top, that opens up the PDF and everything is there for them. So we just need to find the PDFs, and then I take care of this part with the state and getting it uploaded onto their website. And all you have to do is create a link to this webpage that we'll have. I mean, it's really no creation to it. It just,
Communicate.
yeah.
So to make sure I'm communicating
Right.
right, so all we
Yeah.
need is the space on the website. Okay. And
someone to
so-
put the link
and somebody to put the link.
for all of them.
Okay.
Shouldn't be that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it
I mean,
really,
isn't that-
you're just gonna link to this and then they'll all be
They
there
don't
and you
do
can
any
search
rest
for
of
the,
it.
yeah, you can.
But we
search
need
the
a
address
space, we
and-
need a space with a link on the
Yeah.
website.
Yeah, just like we have on our.
And
local
once you
history.
do that, then it's gonna take you here.
There, yeah.
But so does somebody in the city need to create a list? Or no, they just need,
we already have.
Yeah.
Have a list?
We have a list.
Mhm.
We have the list. They do not have to create the list.
Okay,
It'll be like,
all the city needs to do is
Roadwork.
create
You
a
know.
link on the website.
I mean,
Yeah, they
I
take-
will, yeah.
however they put it in,
Yeah.
because we can't put stuff into your website,
Exactly,
right?
okay, all right,
So,
okay.
Yeah, and I can work with whoever that person is, whoever
Okay.
does your webpage. I'll just, literally email them, like, John, yeah, Eagle, EGEL. Yeah. So,
Okay, got it,
yeah, there's really not much on your end that needs to be
okay.
done. And really, once we have the PDF files, uploading them onto the website shouldn't take really all that.
And so we already have the PDF files? We-
Well,
That's where we,
That's
where.
that's what
they
I
gotta
find.
find,
They-
Exactly
take
what
them
left
out.
off.
They've already been created.
Uh-huh,
We just have to go fishing through the digital archives on the city's website to identify which ones we need.
and that's something that's part of the project that
That-
you
that the
would do.
committee
Okay,
will do.
okay,
And we'll,
volunteers.
okay.
So, what I will add to that is that at the bottom of the city website, there's a document center.
Yes.
And, if we go to historic preservation, it looks like it goes back to just, there we go.
I think it goes back to like 2016,
Yeah.
and then there's a separate section that's the archived stuff.
Yeah, so then anything that's not on the website, which I did download this whole folder, so I have the PDFs presumably. I clicked download and it took a while, so I didn't check back in on it.
Okay.
I just saw it go. It's like, okay. But presumably I have all of these downloaded, but anything that's predates what's on here might be in our SharePoint. Outside of that, it's in a physical copy somewhere. So that's kind of where things are at, is my
so
understanding.
there might be physical copies that we have to scan. And
For some stuff.
Which
I've not
Yeah.
looked at the records past 2014. Yeah.
When we did our presentation, so again, because I wasn't here when that was done. So when we did our presentation for HPC for the budget stuff, have you done yours already?
Mhm.
Okay, was that one of the things that we listed in our
That was
thing
that.
as a project that we kind of want to do this year? That doesn't mean we can't do it. All you're asking for is.
Oh, you
I'm
mean-
just saying, I was just
Yeah.
wondering if that
We
was
met-
something that we mentioned.
I-
That I can point to.
I think maybe it was,
I'll look at it again. I can pull
I
up.
can't
my
remember
stuff. Okay.
what I mentioned. Do you remember what I mentioned?
Yeah, well, what was requested was 1,200. We said about 600, I think was actually allocated, and then we left the rest. You guys left the
Yeah, in
rest
regards to the
to
budget.
just being open for new projects and ideas.
Yeah,
And I think that.
so if we need to keep our $1,820.
Hold on.
But I'm not saying that we don't have a digital version prior to this. I'm just saying that there's a chance it could be in fiscal.
Now, would there be some funds? Because I could, since I got a chance to do it, if that, I could say, now, one of the things that one of the projects that go into this little bucket, but we left open for additional projects that we want to do is this. Is there a cost associated?
Well, there isn't,
Potentially.
except for if the city has to pay somebody, if it's gonna be an extra work to do the website thing, like, I don't know how you do that.
Okay.
If you hire people who you pay somehow or another, if it's an in-house thing or however you do it. If there's a cost associated with that, you could take it out of our
Okay,
budget. I mean,
we
I
can
can't
add
believe
that
it's a lot of
620 in there.
Yeah, it should be a matter of deciding where you want to put this on, that you can put it on the Historic Preservation Commission's webpage, say these are the landmark buildings, and click this link to go, get the documents.
After doing this work for many years, most municipalities are kind of proud of that, and it's on their website with their addresses listed and everything, but ours, for Webster, there's just.
It just has never been done or never bought.
I couldn't
Yeah.
find it. I had to
Yeah.
find it in a file folder that my previous person had,
Yeah, and because I looked and I'm like, it is on here, I am not finding it.
I have looked too, yeah, I've looked before, because I assumed it was on last
Yeah.
night. I looked.
Would it be all the Century Home plaques too, or
Well,
something
no.
completely different?
I don't think it would be the century.
No, just those
complex, because
50 plus
For the,
historic
Ones that are on the.
landmarks.
the one, yeah, that the historic preservation has done that are city landmarks. Because this is the Historic Preservation Commission, this is not for the Historical Society Century Home.
Right.
They have
That's-
their list actually
they-
on their website.
yeah,
really?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're,
Yeah, they already have it.
yeah, so what we're doing would be strictly for
Landmarks.
the city landmarks that this commission has designated and the city council has approved.
Yeah, there's over 500 health century.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just the,
Well, the Century Homes aren't,
yeah,
That's-
it's just
it just
a
means-
recognition of
Yeah.
the original owners
A little
and
bit
when it was
different, right?
built, and there's no
there's not the same.
requirements behind it or anything, as far as.
Because
There's a little research, but it's not.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
Like
do the
original
research
deeds,
to make
that's
sure, that we have the right people and when it was built, that can get, not necessarily easy to find, especially with homes built prior to when the city was issuing building permits.
what we do for the city designations is there's a city ordinance that says in order for the city to designate a property as a landmark, it has to meet at least one or more of these requirements. And the research that we do shows how this property meets these requirements. So our designations are actually guided by an ordinance that lays out the criteria.
But that's separate from
That's
this. that
separate.
you're
I'm just
talking about
I'm
here.
just
That's- Okay.
I'm just
So don't
explaining.
confuse me.
I'm sorry, I'm just explaining the difference between what this commission does and what the Historical Society does.
Mhm.
And actually, most of the time it's the homeowners themselves that do their research and they
Yeah.
submit that with their
Maybe-
application, and then the Historical Society verifies it. I help them out sometimes with particular addresses, verify the stuff that they found and make sure that they've got the date and the original owner names correct.
Okay.
I believe the city does have somebody who manages, it's my understanding, the city website is managed by one person.
I think it's Tierra.
It is, that's, I just don't know how much.
Yeah, it's
It was
just- yeah.
afraid of oversharing
Just,
something that it shouldn't, so.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's Tierra. Because I'll just ask the
That's my
question, just
understanding
like,
as well.
what is that, what?
Yeah.
I think
what
that's
all
our
is involved?
so you might.
PR and marketing and.
Yeah, it's just a matter of deciding where we want to, where you want to put the link.
Mhm.
It's and then the list is already there
And she could work with you to,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Okay, anything else on your list?
No.
And so all three of these houses were approved for demolition.
Yes.
Okay.
One's almost demolished.
Yeah, it's in that-
Yeah, back here it's
Without
already.
reconstructing.
Yeah.
Natural causes.
They have a target.
Yeah, one of them, I'm like, oh my goodness, what?
I saw something in the paper about that.
You know what,
Yeah.
when Michael was talking about it, I remembered that, and the police were saying that gentleman was remarkably calm.
Yeah.
After just, yeah.
I saw the address
From
and
the
I,
gas leak?
yeah,
No, this is the one, he was watching TV and his cable went out, so he got out of his chair. Right when a tree fell and smashed his house, and if he hadn't gotten out of his chair, he would have been killed by
Oh
the
my
tree.
goodness.
And he's 97 years old.
Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah.
And he built the house
Yeah,
Right.
in the sixties, so
yeah,
he wants it again.
he wants to
Wants it back
rebuild
the way
it.
it was.
Well, they have the plans in the
Yeah.
staff report says he has the original plans.
Yes, and
He's the only one who's lived, well, his family.
and I remember reading in the paper that the police said he was remarkably calm. He was remarkably calm.
90.
And I thought, by
He
the time-
kinda calm.
by the time you live 97 years, you've probably seen a lot of stuff.
And grateful. It
Yeah.
was like grateful
Yeah.
and whatever, told me to get
cool
up.
looking house.
Yes, it's not today, is it?
I may as well build another.
I do think it's impressive that he's like, I don't want to change anything. I just, I'm like, I don't know that's a long time to be content with something and still want it. So
That's good.
yeah,
Grateful.
it's impressive. Yeah.
It is a neat house though.
It
It's
is.
nice looking.
Wouldn't it be cool though to have that design in a brand new house?
Yeah.
I assume they'll do brand new window technology and all that kind of stuff too.
Which one is it?
That's a
Little Wexford?
Yeah.
Wexford, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we got
What's
to
left?
meeting.
Oh, adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
to adjourn.
Do I have to say it? Do we have to have a motion? A motion to adjourn.
Oh, we can.
I second.
Second.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I don't think enough people.
Yeah. Okay,
we're adjourned.
Okay.